but I'm a person, and I feel like, people will like you for who you are if you are true to yourself. And
When a billionaire offers you $10 million in front of millions watching, what's your answer? This young champion's lightning-fast response just taught the world an unforgettable lesson about true value. Billionaire tycoon proposes $10 million for Alex Ella's tennis racket. Her 5-second reaction astonishes the planet. In the domain of professional tennis, we are familiar with seeing milestones demolished. We are familiar with seeing 150 miles per hour serves, 5-hour battles, and prize money payments that appear like jackpot winnings. But we have never before seen anything resembling what transpired yesterday in the heat of the desert sunshine. Envision this. You have just played the game of your lifetime. Your muscles are crying out, the excitement is subsiding, and the roar of the audience is ear-splitting. You walk to the net, ready to gather your gear and soak in the success. And then suddenly the stadium becomes silent. A man walks onto the surface, not an official, not a supporter, but one of the wealthiest individuals on the globe. He takes the microphone. He looks you in the eye and he offers you 10 million US dollars, not for a promotional contract, not for an advertisement, but for the sweaty taped-up racket currently sitting in your grip. This is not a film script. This is the moment that stopped the tennis world in its tracks. This is the tale of Filipino sensation Alexandra Ella, an oil billionaire named Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, and a simple birthday desire that transformed into the most emotional moment in sports history. Welcome back to Champions Tennis, where we don't just watch the game, we feel the heartbeat. Today, we are breaking down the $10 million racket incident. The shocking proposal that had security scrambling and the 5-second response from a young champion that proved some things in this life truly cannot be bought. To understand the sheer insanity of this moment, we first have to talk about the atmosphere. Alexandra Ella has been on a meteoric rise. The young Filipina star, a graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy, has been tearing through the rankings, silencing critics, and carrying the hopes of an entire nation on her shoulders. She's not just a player anymore. She is a phenomenon. Arriving at this tournament, Ella was laser-focused. She had just come off a grueling season, battling through qualifiers and fighting for every single point. The match in question was already a headline grabber before the billionaire even stepped onto the court. Ella was playing with a ferocity we hadn't seen before. Her forehand was firing like a cannon. Her court coverage was supernatural. She wasn't just winning, she was inspiring. In the VIP box, however, something else was happening. Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, a man whose net worth is estimated at over $50 billion, a man who owns fleets of supercars, private islands, and perhaps half the skyline of the city, was watching. But he wasn't watching the scoreboard. He was watching his daughter Aisha al-Rashid. To the world, she is an heiress to an oil empire. But yesterday, she was just a young girl with stars in her eyes. Sources close to the family say Aisha has been battling personal health struggles. And during her recovery, she found solace in one thing: watching Alex play. She didn't just like Ella's tennis, she worshipped her spirit. Ella's never-give-up attitude became Aisha's lifeline. As Ella smashed the final winner down the line to seal the match, the stadium erupted. But in the VIP box, Aisha turned to her father and whispered that all she wanted for her birthday was to hold a piece of that magic. Now, most fathers would buy a replica jersey, maybe get an autograph, but Sheikh Khalid Rashid is not most fathers. The match ended. Ella shook hands with her opponent and waved to the crowd. She was wiping sweat from her brow, exhausted, likely thinking about an ice bath and a protein shake. Suddenly, the security detail near the player's bench parted like the Red Sea. A hush fell over the arena. Walking onto the court was Sheikh Khalid himself, dressed in immaculate traditional robes, flanked by confused tournament officials who were too terrified to stop him. He wasn't aggressive, he was on a mission. He signaled for the umpire's microphone. The umpire, stunned, handed it over. The audio system crackled to life, echoing across the silent stadium. "I am a father." The Sheikh's voice boomed deep and trembling with emotion. "And I will do anything to make my daughter happy." Ella froze. She gripped her racket tighter, unsure if this was a security breach or a ceremony she hadn't been told about. The Sheikh turned to the VIP box where his daughter stood, pressing her hands to the glass. Then he turned back to the young tennis star. "Alexandra Ella," he continued, "you are the inspiration for my daughter Aisha. I would like to offer 10 million USD to purchase the racket you used to win today's match." A collective gasp went through the crowd. You could hear a pin drop. 10 million for a piece of graphite and string that costs maybe $300 at a sporting goods store. It is not just an item, the Sheikh pleaded, his billionaire persona stripping away to reveal a desperate dad, but a symbol of passion. "Please contact me." The broadcast cameras zoomed in on Ella's face. She looked at the Sheikh. She looked at the racket in her hand, the tool of her trade, scratched from the hard court, the grip stained with the sweat of her effort. 5 agonizing seconds. Nobody breathed. Was she insulted? Was she calculating the conversion rate to Philippine pesos? Was she going to call security? $10 million changes lives, it builds hospitals, it funds entire careers, it secures generations. Most people would have handed over the racket, the shoes, and the bag for a fraction of that price, but Alexandra Ella is built different. She didn't look at the checkbook, she looked at the humanity of the moment. she walked up to the microphone stand. She didn't consult her agent, she didn't look at her coach, she leaned in and her voice was steady, calm, and incredibly kind. "Sir," Ella said, her voice echoing through the stadium, "your daughter's love for the game is worth more than any amount of money in the world." She paused, smiling up at the VIP box where Aisha was watching. "I cannot sell you this racket for $10 million, Ella continued, because inspiration should not be bought, it should be shared. She then walked over to the edge of the court directly below the VIP box. She signaled for Aisha to come down. Security hesitated, then lifted the young girl over the railing. Ella knelt down, eye level with the billionaire's daughter. "This is for you," Ella said, placing the racket into Aisha's trembling hands. "For free on one condition: you promise to keep fighting just like I do." Aisha Al-Rashid, the girl who could have anything money can buy, burst into tears. She collapsed into Ella's arms, sobbing into the tennis star's shoulder. The Sheikh, the man of iron and oil, stood in the background, wiping his own eyes, completely humbled. The crowd didn't just cheer, they wept. It was a standing ovation that lasted for nearly 10 minutes. Let's unpack why this moment is exploding all over social media right now. We live in a cynical world. We live in a world where sports is a business, where loyalty has a price tag, and where athletes are often seen as commodities. When Sheikh offered $10 million, he was operating on the logic of the world. He knows everything has a price. If you want it, you buy it. If it's rare, you pay more. But Ella's refusal wasn't just a rejection of money. It was a redefinition of value. By refusing the $10 million, she made that racket priceless. If she had sold it, it would have been just an expensive souvenir, a trophy of her transaction. By giving it away, it became a holy grail of sportsmanship. It became a physical manifestation of the bond between an athlete and a fan. Think about the message that sends to Aisha. If her father had bought the racket, she would have learned that her father can get her anything. Instead, she learned that her hero sees her, values her, and believes in her not because of her father's wallet, but because of her own passion. Social media is calling it the billion-dollar reject. Twitter is ablaze with hashtags like Ella Effect and Priceless. Even financial analysts are joking that Ella just made the worst business decision in history, but the best brand decision of her life. But is it a bad business decision? Think about it. Alexandra Ella just became the global ambassador of kindness. You can't buy that kind of PR. Her integrity just became her most valuable asset. Brands don't just want winners, they want icons. And yesterday, Ella became an icon. The story doesn't end with that tearful embrace on the court. In fact, the ripples from this extraordinary moment are still spreading across the tennis world and beyond. Alexandra Ella's journey to this point has been nothing short of remarkable, and understanding her background makes this gesture even more meaningful. Born in the Philippines, Ella has had to fight tooth and nail for every opportunity. She trained at the Rafa Natal Academy in Spain, far from home, sacrificing time with family and friends to chase her tennis dreams. She's faced injuries, funding challenges, and the immense pressure of being her country's great hope in a sport dominated by wealthier nations with more established tennis infrastructure. In recent months, Ella has been climbing the WTA rankings with determination that has caught the attention of tennis legends. Her aggressive baseline game combined with tactical intelligence beyond her years has drawn comparisons to some of the greats. Just weeks before this incident, she scored a massive upset against a top 20 player, announcing to the world that she's not just a prospect anymore, she's a genuine threat. The Filipino tennis community has rallied behind her, with viewing parties being organized across Manila every time she steps on court. Children in the Philippines are picking up rackets because of her. She's not just playing for ranking points, she's playing for an entire generation. This context makes her decision to give away the racket even more stunning. For someone who has had to scrape and save, who understands the value of every dollar because she's seen how hard her family worked to support her dreams, turning down $10 million isn't just generous, it's revolutionary. It sends a message that there are still athletes who remember where they came from, who understand that their platform is about more than personal gain. So what happened next? Did the Sheikh take his money back? Reports are coming in that Sheikh was so moved by the gesture that he has pledged that same $10 million not to Ella, but to a foundation for youth sports development in the Philippines in Ella's name. While this hasn't been officially confirmed by his office, sources close to the family say the Sheikh was so profoundly affected by Ella's compassion that he wants to honor her spirit by investing in the next generation of Filipino athletes. The foundation would reportedly focus on building tennis facilities in underserved communities, providing equipment and coaching to children who otherwise would never have access to the sport. If this comes to fruition, Ella's 5-second decision will have created a legacy far more valuable than any personal bank account could hold. Instead of one person getting richer, thousands of kids will get a chance. Instead of one racket sitting in a private collection, entire courts will be built. That's the multiplication of generosity. That's the kind of math that changes nations. The Philippine Tennis Association has reportedly already reached out to the Sheikh's representatives to discuss potential partnerships. Tennis coaches across the country are buzzing with excitement about the possibilities. Former Filipino tennis players are coming out of the woodwork to offer their time and expertise if such a foundation materializes. As for Aisha, she was seen leaving the stadium, clutching that racket like it was the crown jewels. She reportedly refused to let security carry it. Witnesses say she held it close to her chest the entire ride home, occasionally looking down at it with wonder as if she couldn't believe it was real. That racket, with its worn-out grip and broken strings, is now likely the most valuable piece of tennis memorabilia in the Middle East simply because it couldn't be bought. It represents something that all of her father's billions could never purchase: genuine human connection, the acknowledgement from a hero that she matters not because of who her father is, but because of who she is. The Sheikh himself has been uncharacteristically quiet on social media, but those close to the family say this experience has changed him. Here is a man who navigates billion-dollar deals daily, who sits in boardrooms where fortunes are made and lost with the stroke of a pen, who is accustomed to getting whatever he wants whenever he wants it. For the first time in perhaps decades, he encountered something money couldn't buy, and instead of being frustrated or insulted, he was humbled. He was reminded that the most precious gifts in life, love, inspiration, hope, human dignity, exist outside the marketplace. And what about Alex? She walked off the court the same way she walked on, humble, focused, and ready for the next match. When reporters swarmed her in the mixed zone, shoving microphones in her face and asking her to explain the unexplainable, she simply shrugged and said, "Some things are just for the heart." She refused to turn the moment into a publicity stunt. She didn't announce it on Instagram before doing it. She didn't have her management team craft a press release. She just acted from pure instinct, from the values that were instilled in her long before she ever held a professional tennis racket. In the days since the incident, Ella's social media following has exploded. She's gained over 2 million followers across platforms, with people from countries that don't even have professional tennis tours sending messages of support and admiration. Major brands are reportedly lining up to partner with her, not because she won a tournament, but because she displayed the kind of character that marketers dream about. Authenticity is the most valuable currency in modern sports marketing, and Ella just proved she has it in abundance. The tennis community has also reacted with overwhelming support. Fellow players from rising stars to Grand Slam champions have posted tributes celebrating Ella's decision. Former world number ones have called her an inspiration. Tennis legends who normally stay out of social media have broken their silence to applaud her. The WTA itself issued a statement praising Ella for embodying the values of sportsmanship and compassion that the tour hopes to represent. There's talk of awarding her a special humanitarian recognition at the end of the season. Back in the tennis world, the tournament where this occurred has become the most talked about event. Not because of the quality of play, though that was excellent, but because of what happened after match point. Tournament organizers are already planning to commemorate the moment. There's discussion of installing a plaque on the court where Ella handed over the racket, marking it as a historic site in tennis history. The stadium might even be renamed in honor of the gesture. Local artists have proposed creating a statue capturing the moment with Ella and Aisha frozen in that embrace, the racket between them, symbolizing the bridge between athlete and admirer. What about the other players in the tournament? How have they reacted? Many have expressed admiration, though some have privately admitted they're not sure they would have made the same choice. The honesty is refreshing. Not everyone is wired the way Ella is, and that's okay. What matters is that her example exists, that it's out there in the world as a possibility, as a reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond to situations, even when millions of dollars are on the line. The tennis racket manufacturing company that produced the model Ella used has also been thrust into the spotlight. They've issued statements celebrating that their equipment was part of such a meaningful moment, though they've been careful not to over-commercialize it. Smart move. Any attempt to profit too heavily from this story would backfire spectacularly. Instead, they've announced a limited donation of rackets to youth programs in the Philippines, a gesture that aligns with the spirit of what Ella did. There's also a fascinating psychological dimension to this story. Behavioral scientists are intrigued by Ella's split-second decision-making process. In those 5 seconds, what was going through her mind? Was it instinct or calculation? Most people, when offered life-changing money, experience what psychologists call cognitive override, where rational thinking struggles against emotional impulse. But Ella seemed to move past both. She didn't agonize, she didn't deliberate. She simply knew that kind of moral clarity is rare, and it suggests someone who has deeply internalized their values to the point where they don't need to think about what's right, they just know. This story also highlights the complex relationship between wealth and happiness. Sheikh called his everything money can buy, yet the one thing his daughter wanted most couldn't be purchased. It took a kind gesture from someone who has comparatively little wealth to give his daughter what she truly needed. That irony isn't lost on anyone. It's a reminder that the things we treasure most, love, recognition, connection, belonging, exist outside economic systems. They can't be bought, sold, or traded. They can only be given freely, and that's exactly what makes them valuable. What does the future hold for Alexandria? If the past week is any indication, she's going to be just fine. Her ranking will continue to climb as she racks up wins. Sponsorship deals will flow in from brands that want to associate with her integrity. But more than that, she's secured something far more precious: a legacy. Long after she hangs up her racket, long after the wins and losses are forgotten, this story will remain. It will be told in tennis clubs and living rooms. It will be written about in history books about the sport. It will inspire future generations of athletes to remember that their influence extends far beyond the court. As for Aisha, one can only hope that this experience lights a fire in her that never goes out. Perhaps she'll pick up a racket herself and discover her own passion for the sport. Perhaps she'll pursue other dreams, carrying with her the lesson that true value lies not in what we possess, but in how we connect with others. Perhaps years from now, when she's faced with her own choice between personal gain and human compassion, she'll remember the day Alexandra Ella knelt before her and chose kindness over cash. This story reminds us why we watch sports. We watch for the forehands and the backhands, yes, but we stay for the humanity. We stay for the moments where the barrier between the superstar and the fan dissolves. We stay for the instances when athletes remind us that they're human beings first, entertainers second. We stay because every once in a while something happens that transcends the game, something that reminds us of our better angels, something that makes us believe in goodness again. Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid tried to buy a moment. Alexandra Ella gave him a memory, and in doing so she taught a billionaire and the rest of us a lesson we won't forget anytime soon. She taught us that some things cannot and should not be commodified. She taught us that inspiration is meant to be shared, not sold. She taught us that the heart knows things the wallet never will. She taught us that being rich and being wealthy are two entirely different things. What do you think? If a billionaire offered you $10 million for something you owned, something meaningful but ultimately replaceable, would you take the cash or would you do what Alex did? Be honest with yourself. There's no wrong answer here. Most of us would probably take the money, and that's human nature. We have bills to pay, families to support, dreams that require funding. But looking at Aisha's face, seeing the pure joy and gratitude, watching a moment of genuine human connection unfold, maybe, just maybe, Ella got it right. Maybe she understood something the rest of us are still learning. Maybe she grasped that the richest life isn't measured in bank statements, but in moments of meaning, in connections that matter. In the knowledge that you made someone's world a little brighter. Let me know in the comments below what you would have done in her position. And hey, if you love this story of heart over money, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a beat of the drama, the passion, and the glory here on Champions Tennis. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that goodness still exists in this world. Until next time, keep your head in the game and your heart on your sleeve. We'll see you on the court.